do it from there.
I don't think too many of these are long-winded.
I can't imagine they would be.
I don't know. You guys know me. You've met me.
He's good. He's good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, guys.
Welcome back to Rough Draft Research, hashtag RDR. I'm AJ, here with the gurus, Daniel and Christian. We had a ton of fun last week, I think, with the rookie expectation episode, the college production versus NFL situation. So totally check that out if you missed it. Also like, subscribe, comment.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell. This week, the new week is upon us. Rookies, we done did it. We've done did it and more. The third-year guys, we know them front and back. They're the firstborn of the RDR draft classes. The second-year guys, I drafted that class very poorly, so they're dead to me, and I will die on that Kylan Hill, my friend. It's now time to vet the vets, dude. So veterans only. No, none of the third-year guys, none of the second-year guys, none of the rookies. Kind of turned out to be kind of difficult. So we're going to shoot from the hip. Each person's coming at it with their own opinions, and we're just going to kind of riff through all 32 teams, starting with the worst, the Jags, all the way down to the Super Bowl champions. So we'll see if we're going to Backstreet Boy this or if we're going to be in sync.
Oh, shit.
So let's start it off. Jacksonville Jaguars. Christian, let's kick it.
All right. Yeah, so the Jags, they went at it in free agency, and they landed on an RDR favorite, Christian Kirk. And the more I think about it, the more I actually think it makes a lot of sense. You can throw out maybe the amount they paid him as being maybe a bit much, but they clearly saw a need in their offense. Laviska Shenault was only in the slot 57.8% of the times. Marvin Jones was 28.8% of the time. Laquan Treadwell, who was their number 3 guy, nobody forget, was in the slot 24.2% of the time. And by far the most was Jamal Agnew at 70% of the time, but he only had 39 targets. So they clearly needed a slot guy. They went after it. They threw all the money in the world at Christian Kirk, who was in the slot 78.6% of the time for 103 targets. So Lawrence being the guy that we think he is a huge factor here. But if he's the guy that can be dependable, spread out the offense, get it going like people compared him to Peyton Manning coming out of the draft, if he can do that, then hell yes, I want the slot guy on his offense.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, you want the slot guy, I want the tight end because
there you go.
I'm all in.
We're synced on that one.
On Evan Ingram here. So,
That's
I mean,
fair.
he's proved that he can do it. Sure, he hasn't backed it up that hard, but he's been fairly consistent, 10.8 yards per catch. And I think he could keep that going. If he gets 80 targets, that's an 800-yard season. Pretty solid.
Well, it definitely feels like the obvious choice because Doug Peterson's in the house, and it's like Dan Arnold, Evan Ingram, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. I don't know.
Same thing, right?
We'll see. Not the same thing, but, he likes his tight ends, and I think he's proven he can make maybe even more than one fantasy relevant because tight ends are just kind of a dime a dozen. So.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
yeah,
all
it'd be
right.
nice to see Evan Ingram actually get some targets from a competent quarterback.
Seriously, man. So let's go on. Number 2, Detroit Lions. I'm going to kick it to Daniel because I feel like I know exactly who he's going to talk about.
Okay, well, I really, really wanted to talk about DJ Chark, but I'm not going to.
Oh!
I'm going back to TJ Hawkinson. I mean, This is a vet that you can't really be too upset about. He's had some highs and some lows, and now he's playing with Jared Goff, but what are you going to say about him? He's still been consistent. He's been an easy target for that offense. And even though they added DJ Chark, you got pretty much Jameson Williams coming eventually. Amon-Ra's doing his thing. But you can't argue with T.J. Hawkinson being the anchor of that offense, and I don't see that changing. I don't have anything spectacular to say stats wise. I just think you gotta just bet on a sure thing in this one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you. I do have a couple stats that it kind of echoes the point you're making, where once these other guys come back, once Jameson gets going, and then now there's Chark and you have Amon-Ra who went off, Hawkinson was really the only guy for large portions of the season last year. And you can see that his yards after the catch went down from 318 to 201. Obviously, he missed 4 games. And his yak per reception went from 4.7 to 3.3. So he was being covered more. People were there whenever he caught the ball. But his targets were still sitting at 7 per game. So really, he was getting the work. He just couldn't do anything with the ball. And so now, having a more open offense, they're not going to be able to just attack T.J. Hawkinson, and he's going to have more room to move.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely put down DJ Shark, man. That's 6'4", 205, 4'3", 440. The 1 year prove it deal with $10 million. Maybe not limited in OTAs, so maybe he can put something on before Jameson Williams comes around. So that's the 2 minutes.
Nice.
On to the Houston Texans.
Okay, we're all going to say the same name at the same time here.
1, 2, 3. Marlon Mack.
Cooks.
Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks.
It's got to be Brandon Cooks.
Yeah. And I'm with you on DJ Chark. Let's just see if he can finish this season for once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. But yeah, I mean, Brandon Cooks looked great last year, and Davis Mills played most of the season. That's probably happening again. And Brandon Cooks ended with 133 targets. Also, Brandon Cooks is not 30 years old, by the way. That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
He's not even 29. Actually,
Right.
He's about to turn 29. So yeah, like with no real competition in sight. I mean, I know we like Nico Collins, but I don't see him challenging Brandon Cook's spot. So I don't see why that's not just going to happen again. Like, there's no reason for Brandon Cooks not to get 115 plus targets.
Absolutely, man. So you got John Mechie, the rookie in town. But other than that, you're not really seeing a whole shakeup of this offense. And why would you ever go away from something that works so well?
Yeah.
Davis Mills as a rookie made it work, lit it up with Brandon Cooks, and he's going to take a step in the right direction, and Cooks is going to be right there in stride with them. I mean, it kind of feels foolproof, but I'd love to hear about Marlon Mack,
Hey, I put him on here because I just wanted to have this little bit because in 2018, 2019, he averaged 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns on that Colts offense. I don't believe in the unproven college production of Dameon Pierce, and I think this will be the opposite of a curse. It will be a sleeper benediction. And 25 coming off an Achilles heel. This isn't, the early 2000s. This isn't the 90s anymore. We saw through Cam Akers that you can come back from that injury and maybe not be 100%, but do you need to be 100% to beat Dameon Pierce? That's all I'm saying.
No, 12% ought to get it.
All right, on to the New York Jets.
All right, on the Jets, I'm going Corey Davis. And I remember I had a friend, I don't know if this was podcast related, but I definitely had a pretty deep conversation with a friend last year that thought Corey Davis was going to be hot butter there in New York. And I was throwing some cold water on it. And it's simply because every year he's had a new quarterback, he's had to acclimate, right? So his rookie year, he had Marcus Mariota. Then he had a good year. Then he had Tannehill. Then he had a good year. So here are the numbers. So in his first year with a quarterback, he's had 34 catches, 43 catches, 34 catches. And the second year with those quarterbacks, he stepped it up to 65 catches, both the second years. Once for 891 yards with Mariota and once for 984 yards with Tannehill. So I didn't expect him to have a great year, first year in the system, but I do expect him to take a huge step forward going into his second year. And I know that Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore are going to represent the bulk of the workload here in the passing game, not to mention Breece Hall is in town. But, Corey Davis did miss 8 games with an injury last year and still wound up with 34 catches. So if you imagine playing practically twice as many games with the same target share that he had last year, I think he's going to be a surprising vet to keep an eye on.
Yeah, the other thing about Corey Davis is he's definitely the best run blocker at the wide receiver position in that offense. And like the Matt LaFleur style, Alex Shanahan, they need those wide receivers to be good blockers. So he's going to be in the red zone a lot more than I think maybe either Elijah Moore or Garrett Wilson, just because of his blocking ability, which is going to open up his red zone targets as well.
Yep. Hell yeah. Well, let's go on to the other New York team, the New York Football Giants.
So this team is bad, but I'm going to die on a hill. Sterling Shepard's a good little player. I'm not saying that he's going to win you a league or anything, but as a nice flex play, look at Sterling Shepard. Had 53 targets and over 50 yards per game in basically 6 games last season. If he can stay healthy, that's big. It's a big if, but if he can stay healthy, that's big, because if you project out his numbers, if it averages out to 128 targets for 94 catches, 880 yards, and only 2.5 touchdowns. So he'd need to get that touchdown number up to be like a real weapon. But in a PPR league, as a flex play, that's really nice. 94 catches for 888 yards is going to do you some work. And his ADP in redraft leagues right now is in the 200s. So he's a guy that I still think can be useful, at least on a bad team.
Oh, yeah. You are going to die on that hill, man. I love it. I'm going with Saquon, man. The guy's only 25. He is Saquon. The work they put in on that O-line was real. They got Evan Neal. Got to be awesome. And then you look at, they were 8th. They had the 8th fewest rush attempts in the league last year. If you get a healthy Saquon, there's no competition on that depth chart, and Brian Dable's in town, it has to be better. They have to ride him out. He's on a huge contract. He's still young. This team's trying to build momentum with all the money they spent on that offense. They have to make it work. And I think he's going to be the centerpiece, and they're going to make it work this year.
Yeah, that's funny. I picked Daniel Jones, man, because Brian Dable, I think with a healthy Saquon Barkley, I think with, I don't know, who knows if Kenny Galladay is going to ever show out again. You got Kadarius Toney, Wandale. Could be a really interesting offense, and I think you could see maybe a lot of play action, a lot of bootlegs, and I think fantasy relevance. I think you could kind of get like a super light Josh Allen, because they're not worried about him staying healthy, not taking hits. Man, they're gonna use and abuse this guy. He's on his last year of his contract. They don't give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck.
But yeah, let's move along. The Carolina Panthers.
Is it?
This one
the right answer is Christian McCaffrey, right?
I think so.
I don't know, man. I put DJ Moore.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I don't trust that quarterback room, and CMC is the only guy that's proven that he can be consistent when he's on the field. I mean, anytime his snap percentage was over 50%, he had more than 20 points. So he doesn't even need to play a whole fucking game to get you 20 points. So I think he is, but obviously you got the injuries and he's the big name, so I'm going to let you take it with DJ Moore, but that was just kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, basically with DJ Moore, he's just kind of proven to be quarterback proof, and he's been defense proof too, because when Christian McCaffrey was out, he still got work done. He just jumps on the scene and kicks ass. He's not out there dominating target shares necessarily. Robbie Anderson's had back-to-back triple-digit target years, but it hasn't stopped DJ Moore from being the man. He went out there and got 163 targets, and he's bested 1,100 receiving yards the past 3 years. My thing with him is that he's been capped at 4 touchdowns as a max for those 3 years as well. And as heartbreaking as that is, I feel like it's got to be something that he can break through. And so I look for him to make that breakthrough. I mean, he just got the bag. He's going to get paid. He's going to go out there. And they're probably going to take it easy on Christian McCaffrey, right? Or he's shown that he can't take a full workload consistently anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it is very concerning that all of his injuries have been lower body injuries, and they've all been over the last 2 seasons, at least injuries that have actually made him miss time. So, I mean, you would think they should. I guess it speaks to your point that I kind of overlooked DJ Moore, and he doesn't deserve that because he's way better than he gets credit for. So, yeah, no, I like what you're saying. He's an animal.
Yep, that's to playoff CMC. I put Donta Foreman. I still believe he came in to have a role there, and they picked up drafted Ike Iwanu, great rushing lineman out of NC State. But I don't think they trust Chuba Hubbard, and I think Matt Rule's going to ride that hot hand. So, and I think that could be Donta Foreman, but we'll see.
Put Baker Mayfield under center and I run first.
I just want to say, hey, Chuba Hubbard disappointed. So shout out Paul who commented on the last video about it. He was a huge disappointment, and that's why Foreman's here to clean up in case anything happens to CMC.
That's hilarious.
So on to the Chicago Bears. Is there even a veteran? Is there a veteran on this team? I was looking at this depth chart. I was like, oh my god.
It's tough.
There's 2.
I think there's a perfect storm here, though, for one of them. It's a team with a running back on the last year of his rookie deal who already has a replacement in Khalil Herbert, possibly, and they don't really have any real reason to pay a running back that much money because he's not going to put their team over the top, so why not use that money to kind of help the line or do whatever with it and then see what you got in Herbert. But then on the other flip side, you got Montgomery, who's going into the last year of his deal, and he wants to get his best chance at a high-paying contract for running backs. He's only going to get one, most likely, and this is it. This is his shot. So I think the Bears are going to want to use the shit out of David Montgomery, and he's going to be all for it because he wants to put up those numbers and get paid. Yep. I am still a little worried that they're going to want to see what they have in Herbert too much. But, that's who I went with, David Montgomery.
Yeah, so it'll get used heavily and be on a different team in 2023. So
yeah,
I'm right 100%. There with you. He was tied for the 6th most red zone carries last year with 43. So that gives him the touchdown upside. And I'll just keep the candle burning for him.
Yeah.
Demont.
All right, Atlanta Falcons, and I'll start this one off. Auden Tate, obviously, you'll see what I mean. But no, I'm just passing it back to you guys. What do you got?
It's got to be Cordero, right?
I went with Marcus Mariota.
Okay, I literally
with a question mark. I think there's both question marks at the end of those statements.
It says Cordero, Auden Tate, or Marcus Mariota. You tell me. So.
Yeah,
those are my only notes.
I mean, I just think Mariota is interesting for Superflex leagues. He's got these 2 dominant guys, Kyle Pitts and Drake London now, who are absolute ballers that you can kind of just chuck the ball up to in a pinch. And then you got Cordero Patterson coming out of the backfield. So I think Mariota's just kind of in line for easy ass QB points. It's not really going to be a lot necessarily riding on how well he plays. Because the people that he's going to be giving the ball to are going to do all the work. So I'm
Brian
just
Edwards.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey,
Brian
you
Edwards
can't use
also.
him yet. I said no third years. That's 1 strike. All right.
As a group or just on him?
Just on him.
Okay.
I was just saying, if you're talking about guys that are making Marcus Mariota's life easier.
Okay.
You got to throw
all right.
BE
You found
in
a
there.
loophole. I get it. On to the Denver Broncos. That's got to be Melvin Gordon?
No way. Russell Wilson, dude.
Well, I only say Melvin Gordon just because to me, it's just oh, man, what we could have had in Javonte Williams being finally that bell cow, I think it just affects that fantasy aspect of it. I mean, they had the exact same carries last year, and Melvin Gordon had 4 more touchdowns.
Yeah.
New coaching staff, though, and Russell Wilson in the building. So what y'all got on Russ?
I'm just saying, man, he's coming from an offense with the 2nd fewest pass attempts, and he lands in the gold-rich Rockies, and he's ready to sink his teeth into them juicy nuggets of talent, man.
I like what you did there.
Over the top, man. We're going to see the nastiest shit we've ever seen in our lives Russell Wilson's going to come out looking like an MVP. I guarantee it, man. I'm scared because I have to see him twice a year and hear about it because it's Russell Wilson. But this guy has assets out of this world. We've been talking about the waste of talent on this roster. Finally, they have a good coach and a fucking, Russell Wilson has done it time and time again with very little support from his coaching staff or his teammates, really. So I look for him to come in and just kick the door down, man. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
The FC West is over the top.
I went with Cortland Sutton.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it's just echoing everything you said about Russell Wilson, though. I mean, Cortland Sutton's target accuracy score had him ranked 54th in the NFL, and now he has Russell Wilson instead of Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. So that's, it's just the upside. That's the one guy. I mean, obviously Judy is the other name, but he doesn't fit into that category because he's a third-year guy. So I went with Sutton, but I'm with you all the way on Wilson.
Well, so pretty much named every vet on that team. We're just stoked about what's going to happen there.
So speaking of Russell Wilson will go on to the Seattle Seahawks here. And I don't know. This one was a little difficult for me.
I went with DK Metcalf purely, unless, is he 20? Oh, I just fucked that. Is he 2020?
He's 2019.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's good. He's 4. I just fucked myself. Okay. Anyway, I went with DK Metcalf purely for the reason that Geno Smith played in weeks 5 to 8 last season. And during those weeks, Tyler Lockett had 45.6 points and 26 of that came in one game.
Yep.
And DK Metcalf had 77.5.
Oh, yeah.
So just based on that, that's the vet that I'm excited about in Seattle, but I'm not excited about Seattle. So,
I went with Rashad Penny.
Okay.
Just because, the way he ended the year was pretty consistent. I think that Ken Walker the Doke, he's had some hamstring injuries. News coming out of camp. So, and then obviously Chris Carson doesn't seem to be ready to play so much. So this is purely a workload thing. If you got a rookie who can't get off the ground running and you've got a new offense that is just shut down its only chance to be awesome by trading away Russell Wilson, then you're going to have to put the ball in your running back's hands. It's pure opportunity based. Nothing to be excited about in Seattle.
No, not really.
So on to the Washington Commanders. I just put, will Curtis Samuels ever play again? And Daniel will finally have his ultimate spank bake material of the Buckeyes, a brewing
2 Buckeyes
in Washington.
1 cup.
2 Buckeyes.
Oh, yeah, we can only hope so, man. I mean, I put Terry McLaurin just because I had to. I almost wore the jersey tonight. But what are you going to say? He's been doing it. He's been doing it. He's been doing it. He's going to do it again. Now he's got Carson Wentz instead of whatever used car salesman they had under center the past couple of years,
Yeah.
So does Alex Smith have a car dealership yet?
For sure.
Yeah, Terry's a beast. I actually went with Logan Thomas, though, just because Carson Wentz loves his tight ends. I mean, you can chalk it up to Zach Ertz being super sick if you want, but under Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz has had 72 targets in 2020, 135 targets in 2019, 156 targets in 2018, and 110 in 2017. If you throw out last year, Mo Alley Cox only getting 45 with the weird Colts thing, that's a really impressive trend from Wentz. It is scary because it's basically just Ertz, but I'm willing to take the chance on Logan Thomas since he had 110 targets himself in 2020. He just happened to get hurt.
All right. The Minnesota Vikings. I'll start this one. I do think the obvious answer is probably Kirk Cousins. But or Adam Thielen. I guess we got the oldies but goodies. I went a little different route. I selected Patrick Peterson and Harrison Smith because if their leadership doesn't translate to these young guys, Cameron Bynum, Lewis Seen, Cam Dantzler. That secondary could just be deteriorated with age and just non-experience. And I think in a fantasy world, it might be one of those like start your deep guys versus the Minnesota Vikings. Like that could ensue in a lot of shootouts, which would honestly be good for both sides in fantasy with Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins and all that. So,
yeah.
What do you got, Daniel?
I put Dalvin, man, simply because the Vikings were bottom 5 in rushing touchdowns last year in a 3-way tie. Let's see. And then the only team that did worse than them, they put up 10, right? The only teams that did worse than them were the Texans and the Giants that put up 8. Mm-hmm. So they were tied with the Rams and the Steelers with the 10 touchdowns, whatever. All I'm saying is that Dalvin Cook is going to put up more than 6 touchdowns. That's criminal that he only had 6 rushing touchdowns last year. He's due for a huge bump in the right direction. And based on that alone, I don't think his value's gone down, right? It's Dalvin fucking Cook, but
right.
I do think that he's a vet that I'm pretty excited about to make a strong bounce back and be a badass this year.
Yes, sir.
I agree with all that. I just want to throw one quick sleeper out there that I kind of went with on the Vikings. I actually really like Albert Wilson. I don't necessarily think Osborne has that job locked down, and they're very similar type players to me. I don't know. So just throw that out as like maybe a deep, like maybe Wilson sneaks that job, and then you can get him on the waiver wire.
Yeah,
nice.
I like it. On to the Cleveland Browns. Anyone want to take the lead on this?
I just threw in Kareem Hunt because I think he's going to be traded. And I think he can end up being a starting running back on another team. The Browns they can't afford to pay Hunt and Chubb now. They just paid Deshaun Watson all that money. I know it doesn't kick in until next year, really, but that's exactly it. Kareem Hunt's a free agent at the end of the year. I think there's a better chance that he gets traded because he's going to have a lot of value given the production that he's put up. But even if he doesn't get traded, he's a free agent at the end of the year. I doubt Cleveland signs him, even him saying he wants to sign. So I think maybe in a dynasty, if you can get Hunt and he ends up on a different team, there you go. And then in a redraft, he could end up in a better spot than Cleveland.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and go with David Njoku just because of the money and the opportunity, and Austin Hooper's out of town. And there's no way they don't put him to good use, man. Like, that's crazy amount of money to pay a guy with his usage history, you know what I mean? Coming off a 53 target year.
And a first-round draft pick.
Right.
Like Jiminy Crickets.
Yeah, like, no one saw this second contract coming the way it did. But here we go.
Yep. All right, we'll keep it in the North. The AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens. I went with Mark Andrews on this one.
That makes sense.
Why not?
He just feels it feels too much like he could easily be the number 1 tight end in the league. I mean, tell me not to take him in like the second round of like a redraft league. Like,
don't do that. It's not a horrible idea if you're in the back end of the second round, I guess.
Right. But
I did a few tight ends, so I shied away from Mark Andrews, but that honestly would have been a better one. I actually went with Gus Edwards.
Nice.
I think he does his best work in a supplementary role or as an injury replacement, and now he's on a team that runs the ball all the fucking time, and they're starting running back just tore his ACL last season. So I think he's going to have opportunity to be in there. Them signing Mike Davis puts a little bit of a damper on that because I think Mike Davis – it's very similar in that he is great in a supplementary role or as in a replacement. So now he's going to be fighting with him. But I think there's opportunity there for sure.
Yep. Well, he's coming off the injury too, but when I was researching it, it looks like Dobbins tore 2 things in his knee. So they're expecting Gus to be back before.
Ooh.
So, could be
Tyler
pretty
Beatty season is what I'm hearing.
Oh, boy. There ain't no rookies, bud.
Hey, whoa. I went with Lamar, man.
I almost did too.
Yeah, say what you will about Lamar. You know, he's got no Hollywood. There's Ghost Town in the receiver group, but the guy never needed receivers to make shit happen. He got injured last year, but he put up a 42-point fantasy game, 2 30-point fantasy games, 23 points. Like he went out there and was lights out playing some big games. Sure, he had some rough games. There was a 4-pick game versus Cleveland in there. But that's, shit happens like that. You can't win them all. But I think he's fallen out of that like top quarterback conversation, and people are probably going to regret that. I think he's a guy that I'm targeting.
Same.
Just in the value.
Tell me not to take him in the second round of a redraft.
Jesus Christ. That's a stack for you.
Let's head on to Miami.
Ooh, I did write something. Oh, yeah. I got weird on Miami.
Oh, well, take it away, my friend.
I'm going Sony Michel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fun fact, he tied with Dalvin Cook for the third most red zone carries last year when he was with the Rams. So I don't think that anyone expected that. I think Miami struggled in the backfield, and I just think Sony comes in as a guy who could add some consistency to that running back group, and they haven't had it for years. So I'm just going with him just because Myles Gaskins is whatever, and Chase Edmonds is a receiving running back. So Sony Michel's going to get it done on the ground. He was trusted by the Super Bowl champions, so why not trust him in Florida?
Yeah, it's funny. I went with Raheem Mostert.
Oh, my God.
I only say that because I just wanted to make the comparison to Jamal Agnew. He's the Jamal Agnew of 2022, following his offensive coordinator from the 49ers over. He's clearly wanted, and I just feels like he knows exactly what he wants to do with him. So assuming he stays healthy, one of the fastest running backs in the league, make shit happen.
Yeah.
I like that.
I went with Mike Gesicki.
Sure.
I think a tight end's favorite thing is not having safeties around, and who's really good at getting rid of safeties? Tyreek Hill, because they always got to run after his fast ass.
Oh, I like
So going over the middle of the field, I think people are overlooking, and it makes sense because Tyreek Hill is there, and now you have Jalen Waddle, and it's going to be super dynamic. But that middle of the field is now going to be a little more open for Gesicki, and I think Tua is going to eat that shit up. And I think it's crazy because if you look at Mike Gesicki, his yards per reception went down from 13.3 in 2020 to 10.7 in 2021. And I think you're going to see that jump back up. It may even beat that 2020 number because he's just going to be a lot more open, I think.
I like that a lot.
That is the best take of the night. Yep. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already. That was,
Oh, yeah.
Nice one, man.
On to the Indianapolis Colts.
Matt Ryan.
I was about to bring up Matt Ryan, but for a different reason. I'm going with Nyheim Hines.
Okay.
I talked about Matt Ryan a lot last week, and the more we do this podcast and the more I have to dig in on him, the more I think Matt Ryan's really underrated and pretty good. Because we talked about how he produces fantasy wide receiver assets and tight end assets. But you know what else he does super well? Throw to running backs. 2013, 156 targets. 2014, 133. 15, 125. 16, 115. 2017, he had 93. 18, 83 went down. 2019, back up to 104. 2020, 123. And then 2021 is 143 targets to running backs. Nyheim Hines is going to get some work. That's all he does is catch the ball.
Yeah, you heard of that Cordero Patterson guy? Pretty good.
Devonta Foreman.
Oh, yeah,
Freeman.
Freeman.
Tevin Coleman was going there for a while. And, yeah, I didn't even go back all the way. I was going to average it out, but I ran out of time. But, yeah, point is Matt Ryan likes to throw to running backs. So I like Nyheim Hines this year.
Nice.
I like Jonathan Taylor even more. But, yeah, he doesn't qualify.
Yeah.
I just think, like you're saying, man, people are forgetting who Matt Ryan really is. You know, he had some pretty badass shit going on for a while before that team got into a little bit of cap space hell and some swings and misses in there.
Yep. All right. The Los Angeles Chargers.
Oof. This one was kind of tough for me.
It was a weird one. I went Mike Williams.
Same.
I just think, I mean, it's a fair point. It's just Herbert.
It's like which one of those two?
Right.
Yeah.
J Money.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Williams, it was a little up and down this superstar year he had, but he still finished as the wide receiver 12. And I think if the Chargers, just in general, including Mike Williams, can get a little more consistent, that could jump up to like top 7-ish area, which would be really, really huge for you.
Yep. I'm just going with the targets, man. He's had, Keenan Allen's had triple-digit catches the last 3 years, and last 5 years, if you count 97 as triple digits. So he's just, he's on an unstoppable tear.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely consistent fantasy numbers.
Yeah, speaking of underrated players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The Philadelphia Eagles. Come on. You can do it.
Tough one.
I just put Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I put AJ Brown. I mean, he dominated on a team with Derrick Henry, so I'm not really worried about him going to another team that runs the ball super heavy. And I actually think Devonta Smith is the best number 2 he's had. Julio Jones doesn't count because he didn't really play.
Right.
And
What
so I
about
think
Corey
it takes
Davis, man.
Yeah,
Come
that's fair.
on.
I mean, that's fair. All right, maybe. So
He had that one good
arguably-
year. Sorry.
But I think it opens up the field for Brown, and I definitely think Jalen Hurts can do enough to feed AJ Brown the ball.
Yeah, I can't really argue with you. I don't know. Dallas Goedert's a badass. Zach Ertz isn't there anymore. He looks like a guy to me that's going to crack the top 5 tight ends.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
fair.
don't think enough people are talking about it.
That's fair. I almost went with Dallas Goedert, but
Those are your only choices, right?
yeah, that's it. Really, Miles
This is
Sanders, I guess. Wait,
Well, no, yeah,
Sanders,
he's in the
30.
Demont class.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to go with Big Ben here. Is he still on the team? I don't remember.
He is.
I thought he would.
No,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
he's
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was a joke.
It was a horrible joke.
It was a really, really bad joke.
Thanks, man.
No, yes. Deontay Johnson, anybody?
Yeah, it's got to be right.
Yeah.
Like some of these are. I mean, is there another veteran on this team?
Not fantasy wise.
No.
No.
What was that guy's name? McFarland?
Yeah.
Yeah,
McFarland.
Anthony McFarland.
Anthony McFarland? Yeah, I guess there isn't.
I guess just to expand on even more though, Deontay Johnson, his average depth of target was 8.2, whereas Chase Claypool's was 11.5. And the reason I bring that up is I just feel like they're gonna ease Kenny Pickett whenever he gets into the field into that kind of short passing game that they were working with Big Ben last year, and then start to open it up. So there's a fear that if Kenny Pickett starts the season, Deontay Johnson could be like wide receiver fucking 5 going into the first 8 weeks and then kind of slow it up as they open up the playbook more. But that's why Deontay jumped off the page to me.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, he seems like that safety blanket kind of
Yeah.
get a guy by like he's been doing the past 2 years for sure. Let's see. I guess the only other vets are Mitchell Trubisky, Benny Snell.
Hey, there we go. Well, let's move on to the New England Patriots,
Wow.
where I think it's got to be Devontae Parker.
I put Jacoby Meyer.
Me too.
All right. Well, fuck me.
I'm just kind of, with not a ton of new additions. I mean, Parker is an interesting thing, but I'll go with the guy that 126 targets last year with the same quarterback.
Yep.
I just hope that catch rate goes up. 65.9, not really doing it for me, especially when the 35% that he missed is accounting for 44 targets. So there's a lot of production to be had there.
Yeah, but Tyquan's going to take that job.
Yeah, of course he is. I said he's going to take the job of son of a bitch. The other one.
The other one, Kendrick Bourne.
Yes, Kendrick Bourne. Yeah, I do want to mention Damian Harris had 13 red zone touchdowns. Third in the league. Just
Impressive.
behind Jonathan Taylor and James Conner last year. So
Yeah, not bad. All right. Las Vegas Raiders.
Put Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I guess that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you want to say Devontae Parker, but it clearly, or Devontae Adams, but it clearly hinges on Derek Carr to make that happen. So it's almost like by default.
Yeah, I guess I inadvertently put Derek Carr without putting Derek Carr because I just kind of put that I'm not sure because I think Devontae Adams is amazing and I think he's still going to crush it, but I don't necessarily think his numbers are going to go up. And then when you look at the number twos in Devontae Adams' lifetime, the only time he's had another receiver go for more than 700 yards while he's there was Jordy Nelson in 2016. And that was because Jordy Nelson was Aaron Rodgers' boy. So I'm not thrilled for Renfro either. It depends on how they run the offense. So you could see his stats go down. And then like maybe Carr can divide it evenly between Adams, Renfro, and Waller, and they can all be as sick as they have been. I just am a little worried about it. As a fantasy thing, I think the Raiders are going to be an awesome team because of it. But a fantasy, I'm a little more nervous. But in that, Derek Carr should be better. So
yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, that only helps Derek Carr, man, having too much. So he was the quarterback 12 last year, and the thing that gets me, especially with the Devontae Adams addition, is that the Raiders were 6th in passing yards last year, but they were 16th in passing touchdowns. And so if he can get his red zone efficiency, get the passing touchdowns up, I mean, that's just he's already doing it. He just has to have weapons that are reliable in the red zone, which was kind of a problem for him. And he's got the best of the best in that respect now. So plus that's college teammates, right?
Hell yeah, dude.
They did it.
Hell yeah.
Devontae Adams is so sick.
You know there's a beer bong in that locker room.
All right. The Arizona Cardinals. Daniel, take it away.
Hollywood Brown, baby.
That's what I did.
Gosh, I already forgot about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like, the fuck, dude? This guy was making it work with Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. And now he walks into a team that is the, West Coast offense, the air raid, and their alpha is out 6 games. And they just traded their number 2, their number 2 is now in Jacksonville. So, sky's the limit, man. This guy's going to come in and eat. He's going to get those end zone dimes that Kyler threw that one time.
Yeah.
So I think it's going off.
Echoing all the reasons, but then I kind of threw myself off when I tried to dig stats a little bit because, I was expecting to be like, oh, yeah, and Lamar Jackson's yards per attempt was this, and Kyler Murray's is so much higher. It's actually the opposite, though. Kyler Murray is averaging less yards per attempt than Lamar Jackson throughout his career. It's like 7.5 to 7.3 or some shit. So that stresses me out a little bit considering Brown I see him as much more of a deep threat. But I mean, I do still think Murray is a better overall thrower of the football than Lamar Jackson. Maybe not a better overall player, putting it all together. But I think so. Maybe Hollywood Brown is the guy to make that offense go over the top and kind of force Kyler to throw farther. So
yeah. If you look at percentage-wise, the Ravens had 38% of their yards on the ground, whereas the Cardinals had 33% of their yards on the ground. And it's only 5%, but that's
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a chunk of 6,000, 6,500 yards. So just the shift of opportunities or the shift of style from the ground to the air is going to give them that huge bump, I think.
Heck yeah. Sure.
But Lamar is better than people think he is. You know what I mean? Green jacket.
Is that your grandma talking?
Hey, man, that's my quarterback right there.
All right, the Dallas Cowboys. Christian, you got one for this one?
Is it finally Michael Gallup time? After all this time thinking he was going to be gone, and then they trade Amari Cooper instead? I don't know. I like it. He slides in as the number 2. I mean, there's that fear that Jalen Tolbert's going to come in. But, I mean, that guy's going to be fighting with James Washington. So even if Gallup loses his job, he'll still end up as the number 3 guy there probably. I'm just
He'll
intrigued
be
by it.
number
I think
2.
I think we've been intrigued by it for a while because we wanted him to go somewhere else. But in theory or in practice, he kind of did go somewhere else because now it's CeeDee Lamb and him. So
Yeah.
I'm putting Zeke down, man. I'm
That's
with
fair.
you on the Gallup train, but I mean, all this Zeke's too old, can't get it done. RB7, and he had the value touches. I mean, he was supposed to lose a lot of his work to Tony Pollard, which it was a pretty close split. But if you look at the touchdowns, Zeke had 12 all-purpose. Pollard had 2 on the ground. So in the red zone, it was ridiculous. 35 catches to 15, 14 targets to 7. And so Zeke's getting it done in the red zone, and that's where the fantasy points are. So I'm with him, man. Trust him with the ball in the red zone. I trust him on my fantasy roster all the way. So
Yeah, dude.
I think he's got 1 or 2 more years.
it's gonna be impressive, man. That's another guy that the more research that we do, the more you have to start to respect certain guys. Zeke is one of them. Just
on
an
the
incredible
field, not off the
run.
field.
Yeah, that's the thing is he's kind of obnoxious, so I don't like rooting for him. But man, he's the only guy in my running back longevity thing that is still has just been crushing it top 24 every single year of his career. He's the only guy that's done that more than 3 years in a row or whatever. It's just an impressive run. So
Damn,
he's probably
RB
gonna
longevity episode. Nice tease. That is coming down the pipe. I think it's our most touted episode. So we'll go to the Buffalo Bills. I have a little bit of a loophole here. It is kind of a first-year guy, but he's not a player. I'm going with Ken Dorsey, the new play caller up there. I've been shouting his name for 2 years now, so it's make or break time for the both of us. And I'm just really excited because, Dable didn't really get off to a great start last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how much this offense stays the same or if it's going to kind of be a little more dynamic. But we know Diggs is getting the ball.
Dynamic?
Muscle Diggs.
More
That would be
dynamic?
impressive.
Oh, dude.
I don't know.
James Cook in the building, bruh.
More dynamic?
Well, what do you got to say, bud?
Fucking, it's Stephon, man.
Stephon.
Don't trip on a diamond. This guy is number 1.
In our hearts, in America's hearts.
Elite hot sauce.
We have the picture right above my shoulder of him on Mount Rushmore.
That was that's where it all started.
I think, Stephon Diggs is probably the obvious choice. I did throw Jamison Crowder in there. If you harken back to last week, I talked about all the reasons Khalil Shakir could end up being really good. Cole Beasley dominated in the slot with Josh Allen. But let's say Shakir doesn't take that job this year away from Crowder. Crowder is in line to get 100-plus targets, and this is the best quarterback he's ever going to play with. Most likely, and he's done some work in PPR leagues. So I like Crowder as an option if Shakir doesn't take the job away from him.
Love it.
Speaking of him being the best quarterback he's ever going to play with, Josh Allen. I kind of I've been thinking last week I compared Josh Allen to Andrew Luck, and I've been thinking about it all this past week. It was did I insult Josh Allen when I did that? Was that fucked up to be Andrew Luck was amazing, right? And
he was awesome.
Man, but Josh Allen,
Josh Allen is sick as fuck.
next level.
All right, dude, the Tennessee Titans.
I'm going with Robert Woods, man.
Me too.
Bobby Trees.
Hell yeah. I just feel like the Titans window is closing, man. There's so much going on in the AFC. They had that top spot last year, and a couple of the top NFC guys have kind of changed over to the AFC, and I just don't really see the Titans being able to hold them off. But I do think with A.J. Brown out of town, and then, you got the rookie Treylon having a little bit of slow start, Robert Woods is going to anchor this team. Ryan Tannehill is a pretty solid quarterback, so prior to the injury year of 2022, Woods had 3 years of 129 plus targets, 86 plus catches, and you have to think about several of those were with Jared Goff. So the guy can make it work. He'll find a way to succeed, and I think he's gonna step up in a big way for the Titans.
I agree. That's who I had. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with all those stats, so I don't really have much to roll with there. But yeah, I just hope Woods can pick it back up because he was having a good year last year too. And then, like you said, he had 3 really, really awesome years in a row. So hopefully he can pick that up. I am a bit worried about it though. And I think the Titans, there's a chance that they're bad.
Bad.
And it could get rough in Tennessee.
Yep.
Yeah. Coach got his star player, his other star player dealt out from under him, and it's gonna be bad blood.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. It feels like there could be a changing of the guard in Tennessee soon.
All right, well, on to the team that is
Mike Vrabels will go to the Texans, stay in division. Oh my goodness.
Okay. Now to the team that's all veterans, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I mean,
it's weird how the better the teams get, the more veterans they have. I haven't figured that out in fantasy, but apparently the NFL figured it out. So you're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay, well, I guess I'll go again. It's nobody minds. Going with Mike Evans, and it's not even close. I mean, you guys can say what you want to say, but it sounds like Chris Godwin might not be healthy for the start of the season, and Gronk is retired, and then Mike
Today,
Evans.
in fact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Straight
Isn't
up.
that crazy?
I mean, it has happened before.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just, I think this one's real.
For real.
And it's just crazy. It's just really, really good tight end. I don't know. People, I think, recently are sleeping on how good Gronk was in the 2000 teens because we have a lot better tight end play now. George Kittle, Travis Kelce. But that run of Gronk is incredible. I don't know. I had to throw it out there.
Yeah, man. Now, with the arm cast Gronk, just like the cyborg Gronk, and the postseason, the guy was just a tank, man. He was unstoppable. It was crazy,
absolutely animal.
But you know what Tom Brady has done is he's provided that same caliber role to Mike Evans by giving him 13 touchdowns his first year with Tampa Bay, and then 14 touchdowns with Tampa Bay last year. So those are career best for Mike Evans. And so with him not having to compete against Gronk, not having the beginning of the year with Chris Godwin, and then, Antonio Brown did have a role on this offense that is no longer available, to Antonio Brown.
Right.
Thank God. So Mike Evans looking like the lonely man in a room full of ring-hungry motherfuckers, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, Mike Evans is a great shout. I think Russell Gage is interesting. I went with Leonard Fournette just because I think this is going to be the last season that you get it, because I think as long as he's tied to Tom Brady, he can be a top 10 back, and as soon as Tom Brady's gone, I don't think it really happens anymore. So if you have Lenny, just use him this last season and ride it out into the sunset with him.
I actually picked Russell Gage because as a Godwin holder of my team, it kind of scares me a little bit. Got the personal call from Tom Brady to come play. There's clear that once Godwin left and there was no one else, that team just fell apart. So I think Brady went and got his guy. Just, he kind of does all the things that Godwin does, just not as good. So I think the talent will eventually show when Godwin gets back, but not a bad replacement to start the year, especially if Godwin's not playing. So
yeah, 100%.
All right, to the Green Bay Packers. I think we got to let Christian take this one, huh?
Guess so.
Yeah, I can take it. I'm going with Alan Lazard. Actually, over the course of the last 5 weeks of the season, Alan Lazard was averaging 16.6 points per game in fantasy, almost 6 targets a week. And the Lizard is the only guy. He's going to be the most senior guy in that offense outside of Randall Cobb. And I think we all kind of know what Randall Cobb is at this point. He's going to be a really good role player and kind of help this team. But I think Lazard is the guy that Rodgers is going to trust the second most, and that can do the most. He's always on the field. He blocks super well. He's always going to be out there in LaFleur's system. And I think he's earned Rodgers' respect. And I think this is the guy that people are sleeping on a little bit. And I think he could end up having a pretty good year. I'm not thinking he'll be like a top 15 receiver or anything like that, but I think he could have a decent season.
Yeah, I also went with Lazard.
Same.
Pure and simple. We constantly talk about how Gabriel Davis was able to get 1 in 5 catches as a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Well, didn't Alan Lazard just have 8 touchdowns on 40 catches last year? So I know math, baby. That's 1 in 5. So pure and simple, I just expect for him to have double-digit touchdowns and 1,000 yards this year, easy, without Devontae Adams in town.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. He's kind of the proven guy that he was the one that they wouldn't let get away in this offseason. So that's got to mean something.
Yeah, and he finally did sign that tender, so he is there and ready to play. So
Swiped left.
Hell yeah, dude.
I don't know how the swiping.
All right, to the San Francisco 49ers.
Just put George Kittle.
Yeah, me too. Like, just a healthy George Kittle season. That's all I want.
I don't even think we need to talk about the 49ers, man. Like, who else qualifies for this? Debo? No?
Debo,
Yeah.
but fairly obvious, but so is George Kittle.
Right. Jimmy G?
Yeah.
And then that now.
No.
I think even if Trey Lance starts, it's just real quick, just so we don't not talk about him at all. I've seen people like kind of worried about the receiving game if Trey Lance plays. And I mean, I don't know. Mark Andrews did it with Lamar Jackson, so it doesn't really bother me with George Kittle. Scares me a little more with Debo. So that was kind of the final decision on why I chose George Kittle. But plus we don't know what fuck Debo's gonna do. But
yeah. That's what it was for Debo. It's like, dude, are we sure this guy wants to even entertain the idea of playing? Like, he's still deadlocked in the fuck you, right?
Yeah, seems a lot like it. So it's just a weird one. So yeah, it has to be Kittle, really.
All right, to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, do I get this one?
You get this one, buddy.
Okie dokie. I'm going with Ronald Jones.
Rojo.
Huh. Yeah. Okay. I know everyone wants to say Juju, right? But I'd say the Chiefs don't always get off to a running start, you know? No pun intended. But since the majority of their downfield pass-catching game has kind of gone away and they're going to have to do a reshuffle, I think it comes down to who can gain the trust of the coaching staff the fastest. And I think that Rojo wins that race for me. Obviously, Darrell Williams is out of town. And you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who has kind of been an up-and-down kind of dude. Jet McKinnon is back, but there's so many targets available. I think that Clyde slots in as like a third down back, and Rojo comes in as an early down back. The thing with Kansas City is they only succeed by breaking off big chunk plays, and when they fail, it's not because, the game didn't go their way. It's mostly because they fail to produce first downs and have the opportunities to make those big plays to stay in the games.
Yep.
And I think that Rojo is the kind of running back that can represent stability on the ground that they really haven't had for the past several years. And so I'm going for it.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And basically kind of the same reasoning. I think where the Chiefs fall down is that middling range when you need a first down. If Mahomes didn't have the time to get it to Hill, it was like Kelsey's not open, and it shut the Chiefs offense down. And that's why I went with Juju, because I think he gives them another guy in the middle of the field to take the pressure off Kelsey. You can manufacture deep plays. You brought in Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Sky Moore's got some speed. It's not going to be Tyreek Hill, but you can get people to go deep and still have that opportunity. What Juju gives you is a safer reliable option in the middle of the field. That way the defense can't completely just focus on Kelsey in that part of the field. And that's why I think he adds a really interesting dynamic to the Chiefs offense that I think they've been missing for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think down the stretch it will be Juju, but I feel like Pat Mahomes, he just seems like he needs an adjustment in the beginning of the season. And I think because of that, Roja is going to be able to establish himself as kind of a go-to guy.
Very good.
I'm for it.
All right. On to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Joe Mixon?
Joe Mixon.
Yep.
Yep. Joe Mixon. Yards per carry jumped from 3.6 to 4.1 this season from 2020. They improved the offensive line to help Joe Burrow, but that equally helps Joe Mixon. And now the Bengals have already set the league on fire, and they put them on notice about their passing attack. I think all of those things just spell more open space for Joe Mixon.
Yep. I mean, the O-line's got to be a huge thing. I was looking at a lot of total team performances when I was putting this stuff together. And of the bottom 10 teams in percent of total yards achieved on the ground, 4 of those. So basically, if you have, so the percent of your yards that are done with rushing, the bottom 10 in that percentage ranking.
Okay.
4 of those teams were still above average in rushing touchdowns. So, they had red zone efficiency despite not really being run-first teams. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was Tampa Bay, the Chargers, Kansas City, and Cincinnati. And this huge passing attack that they have just opens things wide open for Joe Mixon across the entire 100 yards. And especially, if he can get all those red zone carries and touchdowns as well. It's like
game over, baby.
Money in the bank.
It's a wrap.
Money on the church floor.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I guess we're going to wrap it up with the Super Bowl champs, the Los Angeles Rams.
It's Allen Robinson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The dude there that don't have the ring.
Yeah. Let's finally see Allen Robinson with a good quarterback. I mean, he still had his chance in 2018, but I'm not bitter. So let's go. Just get Allen Robinson with a good quarterback that's going to be able to get him to the ball consistently, and let's fucking fly. Yeah, I think it has to be Allen Robinson.
It's it feels like this is finally it, and if it's not, then we can he's done.
We can put that shit to rest. Oh, get Allen Robinson a quarterback. No, he's just not as good as we thought, but he is because he's fucking.
Yeah, not so fast. I mean, I don't think 2021 counts against him. He's playing on the tag, playing for Matt Nagy. But 2019, 2020, he's a top 10 wide receiver, Mm-hmm. And so just because I want to keep him down, I'm going to call him Allen instead of Allen Robinson. So if you ever hear me talk about Allen, I'm talking about that Ram.
Okay.
So there you go.
Love it.
You guy's a badass.
Well, I think that's a wrap. Boys, we kind of that was the first time we've never been just long-winded through a whole episode. We kept it under 2 minutes, naturally.
Nice.
Yeah,
We're getting there.
Kind of planned it like that.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Any final thoughts on the whole thing? Vetting the vets.
Yeah, no. I thought it was cool. Thought it went well. Alan, good luck.
Yeah. All right.
Other than that,
like and subscribe. Watch us on the YouTubes. If you're on the old audio apps, you'll see. Actually, it might ruin it for you. A lot of the fantasy podcasts I watch, as soon as you see what the people look like, it kind of ruins it for us.
You expected this.
All right. Later.
Peace out, guys.
See ya.